Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Ozcast.
Welcome back to Just Putting Around. I'm your host Reese, and today we're diving into an alternate timeline. One that could have completely changed the Ruthless Aggression era. We're talking about Survivor Series 2002, the first ever Elimination Chamber match. In real life, Shawn Michaels won the World Heavyweight Championship in an emotional comeback moment, but today we're flipping the script. What if Chris Jericho had won instead? How would this affect Triple H's dominance on Raw, Shawn Michaels' return arc, the rise of Evolution, and the WrestleMania main events of the next 3 years? Let's dive in. So, let's rewrite history. Instead of Shawn Michaels pinning Triple H to win the World Heavyweight Championship, here's how the final moments play out. The final three inside the chamber are Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Jericho. Michaels hits sweet chin music on Triple H but collapses from exhaustion. Jericho seizes the moment, hitting a lion salt on Michaels and pins him. HBK is eliminated. Now, it's down to Jericho and Triple H. Triple H, already weakened from RVD's 5-star frog splash from the pod, struggles to stay on his feet. Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho on a bloodied and exhausted Triple H. Triple H taps out, and Chris Jericho is your new World Heavyweight Champion. Why is this a big deal? Jericho finally beats Triple H in a big match. Shawn Michaels' comeback arc changes drastically. Triple H's reign of dominance is delayed, and Evolution's formation gets altered. Jericho is now the World Heavyweight Champion, and the next night on Raw, Triple H is furious. But Jericho, in peak cocky heel mode, refuses to grant him a rematch. He cuts a promo mocking Triple H, saying, "The game? More like the lane. You tapped out to Y2J. Maybe you should change your name to The Quitter." Armageddon 2002. Chris Jericho vs Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship. Ric Flair, instead of immediately aligning with Triple H, teases an alliance with Chris Jericho. At the pay-per-view, Flair betrays Jericho, hitting him with brass knuckles. Triple H wins back the title. Evolution is officially formed and Jericho is left to regroup. Jericho spends the next few months feuding with Ric Flair and Batista, while also rekindling his issues with Shawn Michaels. At the Royal Rumble 2003, instead of Triple H being in the Rumble, the final four are Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar, and Kurt Angle. Jericho and Michaels eliminate each other, leading to one of the most intense brawls of the night. This sets up WrestleMania 19 with Chris Jericho vs Shawn Michaels. In real life, Jericho lost, but here he wins. This victory cements his babyface turn and gives him a massive WrestleMania moment. Meanwhile, Triple H defends the world title against Booker T, which stays the same as real life. By mid-2003, Chris Jericho finds himself in the crosshairs of Evolution, the dominant faction led by Triple H featuring Ric Flair, Randy Orton, and Batista. After defeating Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19, Chris Jericho is looking to reclaim the World Heavyweight Championship. However, with Triple H still holding the title and the Evolution at his side, the numbers game is against Jericho. Jericho starts a one-man war against Evolution, refusing to back down despite being outnumbered. On Raw during May of 2003, Jericho confronts Triple H, challenging him to a title match. Ric Flair interrupts, calling Jericho a fluke, who got lucky against Michaels. This leads to a match between Jericho and Flair, where Orton and Batista interfere, costing Jericho the win. During June 2003, Jericho gets revenge, attacking Orton backstage and destroying Evolution's locker room. In July of 2003, Jericho vs. Orton is made official for SummerSlam, with the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Now let's fast forward to SummerSlam of 03. We've got Jericho vs. Orton for the IC title. Evolution dominates the night, but Jericho puts up a fight. After a hard-fought battle, Jericho pins Orton with a roll-up to win the Intercontinental title. After the match, Evolution jumps Jericho, destroying him in the ring. Now we've got the road to WrestleMania 20. After SummerSlam, Jericho finds himself in a constant war with Evolution. Despite being IC champion, he can't seem to get ahead of Triple H. By October of 2003, Bischoff sees an opportunity. He offers Jericho a deal: align with him and Evolution, and he'll ensure Jericho gets another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. Jericho hesitates, but ultimately accepts the offer, turning heel again in the process. Now, he's not just fighting against Evolution, he's working with them. But for how long? Jericho is part of Team Bischoff vs Team Austin at Survivor Series 2003, where if Team Austin loses, Austin is forced to leave Raw. The final moments see Jericho and Orton vs Michaels. Michaels eliminates Jericho, but Jericho returns and smashes HBK with a steel chair, allowing Orton to win. Austin is fired from Raw, and Jericho solidifies his alliance with Bischoff. At the Royal Rumble 2004, Jericho teases a face turn. Despite aligning with Evolution, Jericho isn't happy. He thought working with Bischoff would get him a world title match, but instead he's still stuck in the mid-card. At the Royal Rumble, Jericho enters number 15 and makes it to the Final Four, which is Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, Kurt Angle, and Chris Benoit. Jericho and Orton work together until Jericho suddenly eliminates Orton. The crowd cheers, and Jericho hesitates. Is he breaking away from Evolution? Ultimately, Benoit wins, and Jericho walks up the ramp, clearly conflicted. And with that elimination of Orton, we've set up WrestleMania 20, where Chris Jericho faces Randy Orton, defending the IC title. By February 2004, tensions boil over. Orton demands a rematch, and Jericho, tired of being Evolution's lackey, refuses to take orders anymore. Triple H tells Jericho that Evolution has no room for weaklings. Jericho, finally turning face, slaps Triple H and challenges Orton for the IC title at WrestleMania 20. At WrestleMania 20, Orton wins the match, making his true arrival as the Legend Killer. Jericho, despite the loss, gets a standing ovation from the Madison Square Garden crowd, setting him up for a fresh start in 2004. By 2004, Chris Jericho has finally broken away from Evolution. After his loss to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 20, Jericho is determined to rebuild himself and get back to the World Heavyweight Championship. But the road ahead isn't easy, because standing in his way are some of the WWE's biggest rising stars, a returning legend, and an entirely new challenge, the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now let's break down Jericho's journey from WrestleMania 20 to WrestleMania 21. After WrestleMania 20, Jericho enters a redemption arc, shifting back into a fan favourite role, while still keeping the cocky edge that made him a star. With Evolution still running Raw, Jericho immediately goes after Batista, who was instrumental in his loss to Orton at Mania. In a hard-hitting match, Jericho picks up a huge upset win over Batista, dodging a Batista bomb and rolling him up for the 3 count. This is the first crack in Evolution's dominance, and it pushes Jericho back into the main event conversation. By June 2004, Jericho's focus shifts to Edge, who returns from injury as a fan favourite, but with a new, more aggressive attitude. Edge wins the Intercontinental Championship, but does so controversially, using the ropes for leverage against Jericho. Jericho is furious, believing Edge is cheating to win, but this leads to a full-blown rivalry. At Vengeance, we've got Chris Jericho vs Edge in a steel cage match for the IC title. After repeated interference in their matches, Bischoff books a steel cage match at Vengeance. In a brutal encounter, Edge retains the IC title after escaping the cage, leaving Jericho frustrated but still defiant. This makes Edge's full final steps toward becoming a full-fledged heel, as he begins showing signs of arrogance. After coming up short against Edge, Jericho sets his sights back on the World Heavyweight Championship. Jericho is placed in a fatal 4-way match for the world title against Triple H, Chris Benoit, who's the champion, and Shawn Michaels. In one of the best matches of the year, Benoit retains after making Triple H tap out. Jericho gets close to victory but is taken out by Edge, who attacks him during the match, continuing the rivalry. Jericho and Edge finally settled their rivalry in a Survivor Series elimination match, where Jericho captains a team of Benoit, Orton, Shelton Benjamin and Jericho against Edge, Christian, Batista and Triple H. The match ends with Orton pinning Edge for the win, and Jericho finally moves on from Edge. Jericho enters the Royal Rumble match of 05 at number 11, lasting nearly 40 minutes before being eliminated by Batista. Despite falling short, Jericho is gaining momentum again. However, something even bigger is on the horizon. A brand new match concept that will change his career forever. And this brings us to WrestleMania 21. At this point, Jericho is a veteran, a multi-time champion, and one of the biggest stars on Raw. But he still wants another shot at the world title. That's when he proposes something revolutionary. The first ever Money in the Bank match. In real life, Jericho pitched the idea of a briefcase that gives the winner a title shot at any time. In this alternate timeline, Jericho not only creates a match, but also competes in it, looking for a fresh opportunity at the world title. At WrestleMania 21, the first ever Money in the Bank match features Chris Jericho, Edge, Shelton Benjamin, Chris Benoit, Christian, and Kane. Jericho is a fan favourite, putting on a show-stealing performance. However, just as Jericho is about to grab the briefcase, Edge smashes him with a steel chair, climbs the ladder, and wins the match. This loss pushes Jericho into a new phase of his career, leading to an intense feud with Edge throughout 2005. So, let's recap. From winning the first ever Elimination Chamber, to battling Evolution, to creating the Money in the Bank ladder match, Jericho's path to WrestleMania 21 is one of ups and downs. While he doesn't win Money in the Bank, this loss allows Jericho to become the veteran underdog, constantly fighting to stay at the top. So what do you think? Would this timeline have worked better for Jericho? Or do you think he was always meant to take a different path? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and on social media. This has been Just Putting Around, and I'll see you next time.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.